Okay, guys, there is no doubt in my mind that this is going to be something that you are going to find of great interest. So today's video is going to explore pine pollen. Pine pollen and its impact specifically on the pheromone androstenedione. Finally learned how to pronounce it correctly. So this might be something that you're very unfamiliar with. Those of you who are familiar with it will first or perhaps heard of it in the SR community. I'll tell you a little bit about it first, and then I'll kind of talk to you about how I discovered this. But it has a lot of potential benefits on not only this idea of excreting more androstenedione, which is one of your natural masculine pheromones, but a whole host of other testosterone boosting benefits. So you can kind of see here, this is what it looks like in its flower form. And basically these are male pine cone tree powder, I guess you could say. I'm going to go through the scientific terms now. So it's this yellow powder that is released during the spring season as part of the reproductive process of certain types of pine trees. I did make a little note here to this idea that, what we're actually talking about is the sperm of a tree, because it goes through the air, it finds the female counterpart, and that's how more seeds are produced as a consequence of fertilization of these of the pine powder. The kind of trees that it comes from, so you've got the Mason's pine, you've got the Chinese red pine, and you've also got the Scots pine. Now, we just want to go through an anecdotal story that an individual experienced while discovering this. So this individual does actually remark that they too discovered this because of this particular subreddit. However, they wanted to make a new post for the individuals in the community that have been exposed to it. So this individual started using pine pollen powder this last week, and the benefits were extremely profound. It quite literally is like SR on steroids. I'm currently on a 22-day retention period, and all the usual benefits of SR have been massively amplified through the last couple of days of supplementation with pine pollen. Gym performances has skyrocketed. I used to be able to do a maximum of 12 pull-ups, and now I can do 15. Much more magnetism, female attention. So we'll talk a little bit about what are the biological implications of the improvements in this area. Got stared down hard at the mall today. I'm guessing this is American or Canadian, by girls ranging from 18 to 50. Normally the sort of soul staring doesn't show up until after 60 days, so I found that interesting. I'm also much more confident and outgoing. Many guys seek friendly eye contact with me, or I will just say hello as we pass each other. The biggest personal benefit for me has been my sparring performances in the gym. Now, I'm not practicing any kind of martial arts for the moment, so I would be greatly appreciative of anybody who is doing this in combination, especially with something like pine pollen, and what your personal experiences have been with supplementation of this interesting pollen. I've just felt so loose, creative, and flowing in the ring. The last session I had after taking pine pollen. In fact, my next post on the sub is going to be old footage of me sparring when I used to 6 times a day. Christ the Redeemer. And then compared it to me when he compared it to himself when he was on a 30-day period of retention and supplementation of pine pollen. Some other anecdotes on this individual's personal experience, because again, with all these things, it's not always a benefit. There are some, I wouldn't say the risks are huge, but there's some things to certainly highlight. And I think one of them would be, this sounds too good to be true. And, we'll talk about that in just a moment. Let's just go through this individual's personal experience that using all the time is not recommended. So yeah, this is what I was going to discuss. It is a phytoandrogen. So essentially what it is a phytoandrogen is a plant-based androgen that mimics human androgens in the body, but it comes from a plant-based. And what it can do is potentially suppress your natural testosterone level like any other external androgen coming into the body. Personally, going forward, I plan to only use pine pollen once a day, a week when he spars. and situationally on dates for the increased confidence and decrease in anxiety it provides. So really, really interesting post. We appreciate your input here, brother. I will talk about some of the other, let's say, things to be mindful of when you are supplementing, because I imagine many of you have probably opened up Amazon and looking for pine pollen already, but please watch to the end of the video until you do. So the first point to remark on is the androgenic factor. So testosterone has been found in the pollen of the Scots pine, and it's estimated that 10 grams of this pollen contain about 0.8 micrograms of testosterone. So it is an androgen. I'm not too sure of the regulations in terms of athletes around this, but I believe this is something that in some circumstances, I might be talking out my arse here, so please be mindful that this is something that they say you're not allowed to take fundamentally, because the effects could be significant. Again, don't quote me on that directly. I might be talking about something else. I had to get androstenedione over here because my pronunciation of this is awful. Now, this particular excerpt is actually from my book that is coming out hopefully before summer. So what's more is that pine pollen contains phytoandrogens, which are plant-derived compounds that have androgenic effects similar to those of human androgens. We've talked about this. The most notable phytoandrogen found in pine pollen is androstenedione. Androstenedione is a precursor to testosterone and estrogen in the human body and is often used as a supplement to support athletic performance and muscle growth. A growing body of evidence suggests that humans can communicate solely relevant information such as aggression, dominance, and readiness for competition through chemosensory signals, pheromones in this regard. Androstenedione, a testosterone-derived compound found in males' axillary sweat, which is underneath the armpit, is a main candidate for a human pheromone that can convey such information. So I'm not talking completely out of any kind of empirical, scientific, and objective lens here. I've referenced the sweaty t-shirt study in my book, and I'm also referencing it here in previous videos. And this is a long study. If you want to read the study, it's up to you. I just want to go through a conclusion of the study, but of course, to understand the full parameters of a study, you have to talk about how good the study was. You've got to talk about the control methods, the experimental groups, and fundamentally if it was a good study or not. But essentially, this study wanted to find out if women had preferences to certain scents on certain t-shirts. And one of the scents that they tested was androstenedione. Which one did they have an overwhelming preference for? Androstenedione. So there is some, and this was in 2003 again, so that's the name of the study if you want to have a look at it. But again, I'm going to reference all of this in my book in more nuance and more detail for you guys, because you guys deserve the best. Let's talk about the conclusion here before tying any loose ends on some potential risks that you should be wary of. So this is from the conclusion. Pheromones continue to be an exciting area of research. Currently, the 16 androgens, and in particular androstenedione, is fairly well characterized as a pheromone for women. They are present in male axillary sweat, under the armpit, and other bodily secretions such as urine, such as semen, such as saliva as well. There was an interesting study that showed that male pigs had a lot of androstenedione in their saliva. Of course, people always disregard animal studies because, again, they're animals and they're not us, but there's continuity in the biological principle here. And again, they used androstenedione as a primary pheromone to attract the female pig counterpart. Androstenedione improves mood and focus and modulates biological endpoints as well. A positive mood, heightened focus are important for women's sexual response and sexual satisfaction. So very, very compelling. Now, a couple of bits and pieces before you add this to your Amazon basket. There's various forms that you can take it in. I have a powder here, which is an original kind of format. You can kind of see here. The taste is definitely not something to write home about. I don't supplement this every day. Actually, similar to our friend here, I only probably use this about 1 to 2 days in a week's tops. And I even take half a teaspoon. You know, it's weird. I know it might be strange to say and perhaps obvious to say, Joseph, but it tastes like powder. It's kind of, I know it's in a liquid because I put it in my coffee, but it tastes kind of, it tastes like powder. It tastes like powder. So again, the other thing to highlight, and this should be obvious, is that this is pollen. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I, in my earlier years, was allergic to pollen. I don't know what's happened, but I'm no longer allergic to it. I actually got a scratch test before I started taking pollen because I was worried about, you know, anaphylaxis. I used to get really, really itchy eyes, runny nose, itchy skin, irritation in the throat. When I was in primary school, I used to put those blue, I know you got those blue paper towels. I used to put like some ice in them and literally just lay with the paper towel over my eyes because it was the only thing that kind of calmed the irritation down. But it's a pollen. It's a pollen, and you might be allergic to this. So, you know, if you are worried about that, it's definitely worth, not just for this, but worth getting an allergen test just to make sure, because again, it is a potential allergen, and you know, I don't want to be. And I'm not saying get this, by the way. This is my personal insurance for myself. I'm not saying get this. I'm saying do with this information, will you, with, you know, what you will. And it will double down on the last point. The individual was saying that this is an external androgen coming into the body, and it could potentially have some implications on natural levels of testosterone. So be wary of that. You know, with all these things, guys, it's really interesting that, you know, it's very difficult to control if this actually does have a tangible effect, a measurable effect on your ability to excrete androstenedione through your sweat, through your skin, through your, you know, other bodily fluids, and actually have the effect on female attention and attraction that that many of you are seeking if you clicked on this video. I mean, we don't know with this individual if, you know, the implications were that he was, you know, getting stronger in the gym because of heightened masculine characteristics, because he was eating right and, you know, not eating fast food. You know, your personal experience is going to be the best thing for you in this regard, guys. You know, don't take my word for it. Experiment yourself. You might be a hyper responder to this. You might not be a hyper responder. For me, the benefits aren't as palpable as this individual has suggested. I may, after doing this video and actually spending a little bit more time in this area researching, play around with different delivery methods, because there is a tincture, the droplets, the stoppers method is another way that you can do it, or also a pill form on an empty stomach is something that I might experiment with, and I might experiment with different dosages as well. I definitely feel a big uptick in my libido though when I do take this. So yeah, use your own common sense. I know the irony with common sense is that it's not that common, but anecdotal experience is always going to be something that you are going to use for more ruthlessness and execution on adding this to your supplement stack. But if any of you guys are taking this, I would love to hear from you, because this is an area that people aren't researching very, very greatly. You've only got me and some other interesting individuals to help you in this area. So leave your comments down below. I would love to hear your personal opinion on this. Are these theories, are these facts? I'll let you decide, gentlemen. Speak soon.